IAG supposed to be all about God. IAG supposed to be all about God.
Eh? All about
IAG
God.
supposed to be all about God.
First of all, I want to congratulate. Once again, I need to congratulate you donors for successfully purchasing an investment property for Tim and Megan. Congratulations. You guys can applaud yourselves, pat yourselves on the back for purchasing another property. Now, Tim implied that this was their first investment property. Of course, we know that you donors have successfully secured Tim and Megan's second investment property, because obviously that property over at Resurrection Ranch, over at Grandma Lily's Amazing Grace, obviously that property was the first investment property that you donors purchased for them. And clearly it's an investment property, considering the fact that Grandma Lily is employee number one, considering the fact that Grandma Lily pays her rent through her hard, back-breaking work. She was paying it through her filming duties at the Resurrection Ranch, and also considering the fact that they have their YouTube channel based upon that property. And so that absolutely was their first investment property. But congratulations to you donors for securing my coach and y'all's pastor his second investment property. And so of course I have to wonder, what does that have to do with God? What does that have to do with being all about God? And so I'm like, okay, so let's think about other things that have gone on recently since the season changed on their ministry work. What has occurred recently? And so we have to ask, what do any of these things have to do with being about God? So raising pigs and sheep and some mythical chickens and turkeys and duck and some fantastical cows and some beef. What do any of those things have to do with God? What does disrupting, what does miseducating those boys and relegating them, dooming them to be farmhands, dooming them to obtain some of the subpar carpentry skills that you, coach, have attained over time? What does dooming them to be farmhands and subpar contractors, subpar carpenters, what does that have to do with God? What does suppressing Megan in her walk with God, what does that have to do with being all about God? What does porta huts, what do the porta huts have to do with being all about God? What does this sidecast, aka fraudcast, aka codcast, what does that truly have to do with being about God? What is dominating Grandma Lily? Dominating Grandma Lily at her Resurrection Ranch, not finishing her Resurrection Ranch. What does that have to do with being all about God? What does that have to do with it? What does dissolving your not-for-profit and moving to for-profit, what does that have to do with being all about God? And what does changing seasons from working in the community to working on your own property, the season changing from working in the community to strictly working on the farm and working on that property, what does that have to do with being all about God? What does it have to do with being all about God? I'm missing it. Clearly we see more of it being all about Tim. That's the IAT. Clearly we see it being more about Tim. And lately some people question whether it's becoming more about Megan. But all about God, we're not saying that. We're not saying that lately. But all right, before I get to my reaction to the recent IAG Farms video about them purchasing an investment property, I do have to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that commentary flowing. Keep that dialogue going both ways. Of course, I have to recognize you goofy Tim donors, you heavy Tim writers, you foolish Tim faithful, you steady Tim supporters. Of course, I have to recognize you guys. I hear you guys in the comments talking about captain, some captain you are. If you were truly a captain, truly the captain, you would know that Megan dissolved that not-for-profit, not because they wanted to keep all the profits for themselves, but simply because they didn't want to have to share any of the profits. Or as they say, they did not want to be accountable to the IRS, like the rest of us folks. Okay, if you were truly the captain, you would know that, okay, well, they didn't go to being for-profit simply because they didn't want to have to donate a certain portion of their donations. They didn't want to have to pass through their donations. They didn't want to have to account for all the things that were coming in, and they didn't want to have to account for all the things that were going out or the lack of things going out. They didn't dissolve it simply for that fact. They dissolved it because they didn't want the IRS in their business. In their business. I thought that would be the donor's business. Isn't that more of the donor's business than it is the supposed IAG farm faith-based business? So I hear you guys wilding with that. I hear you guys. You guys are definitely wilding in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep on digressing. Today, I'm going to provide my reaction to that recent the recent IAG Farms video where they talk about securing their quote-unquote first investment property. Obviously, those of us that have been longtime viewers, we know that's actually their second investment property, but oh well. But I'm going to provide my reaction to that video here. Early in the video, Tim is talking about how they identified the property. He talks about how Megan identifies the property. And Megan's like, hold on, Tim, hold on. Tim, you're being nice. He's being nice, viewers. She says that he's being nice. But of course, we know what she's truly saying is that he's lying. Okay? And she's like, hold on, Tim, I can't be a part of this. Not every time. And she's like, well, no. I do not pick out the properties. Okay. Tim picks out the properties. He does his quote unquote research and then he presents it to me. And of course, Tim, he tries to overtalk Megan. He's like, hold on, don't interrupt me, Megan, while I'm lying. Don't interrupt me. He tries to overtalk her. She sugarcoats it a little bit by talking about the fact that he's doing what a good leader does. He presents it to him. He presents the information to Megan. He presents the information to the kids, and just like any other good leader, and he's a good leader, and so she strokes his ego, and of course that makes him feel good. She compares him to God. She said, "Well, that's really what God does." Okay, and we're like, all right, well, if God is asking you questions, He's not asking you for your opinion. Okay, and so. Comparing Tim supposedly asking for your opinion to God asking you for your opinion. I mean, don't forget that God, He already knows how the story goes. Okay. Now we're given free will, but God knows. Okay. He knows the decisions that you're going to make. He knows how the story ends. So God does not ask for your opinion, similar to how Tim, my coach Tim, does not ask for your opinion, Megan. And certainly he does not ask for the opinions of the boys. How would he ask for the opinion of some uneducated boys? Some young uneducated boys, yes? Okay, Megan? That's just like, Megan, if you had some scholarly type issues or you had some career type issues or questions or what have you, and that's just like you going to Tim and saying, hey, Tim, based on your education, Tim, based on your experience, Tim, based on your experience in the work world or in corporate America or any true occupational setting, Tim, what is your opinion? That's just like you going to Tim and asking him for his opinion. It's not going to happen. But okay, if you say so.
Then y'all, we're gonna shut it down for a little bit and let mama kind of get her faculties together because I go off what she tells me to do. If she tells me that's not go true. For it, not true. I go off what she tells me to do. She tells me,
no, that's not true.
go for it.
Not true.
I just show up with the money.
I gotta get up.
I just show up with the money. Because like I said, she's my real estate person. She's the investigator. She finds these properties and does
being nice.
Yeah, I actually did find the property myself.
He
and I researched it last night. But I handed it over to Megan and I say, this is what I found out.
No.
Call the people, get in contact with them, you know, let them know all this and all that. Then we go put boots on the ground and figure it out.
The beautiful thing is we do work together as a team. And so he does a wonderful and amazing job in not just including me, but also including the boys in everything that we do. And that's really good leadership. Mm-hmm. That's what a good leader does. That's what a good leader looks like, you know, and whether he knows, you know, God has given him the wisdom and he knows and he kind of has an idea. Even sometimes the Lord will give him like the path for the future. And so he'll know like exactly what we're supposed to do, but he'll still include us, ask us, and we feel completely a part of the process. And you know, that's what God does too. He knows exactly how things are gonna go, but he still asks you, includes you. And you know, that's what God does too. He knows exactly how things are gonna go, but he still asks you, includes you.
Later in the video, my coach Tim, he talks about this new chapter in IAG Realty. Realty. Okay. Coach, we're going to need you to look up the definition of realty. All right. Buying and selling property is not the same as having a realty. But he talks about this chapter of IAG Realty, or they may title it as being Resurrection Ranch Realty. If anything, call it IAG Properties or Resurrection Ranch Properties. It would not be a realty. But he talks about the fact that at one point he was going to force Megan to go and get her realtor's license. He changed his mind. He about faced on that for two reasons. I guess eventually he realized that you did not need a realtor's license in order to sell property, in order to buy property either. And so that was good. That showed a little bit of progress on his part. The second issue, which I guess was actually the bigger issue, is that he learned that she would actually have to study or intern under another realtor, under a true realtor, as she was working through the process of learning the business and obtaining her realtor's license herself. And we're like, okay, well, we totally understand why Coach Tim nixed that. Okay. Tim is not about having Megan learn anything under anybody else's guidance. He doesn't want her to learn anything under anyone else's tutelage. Certainly, he doesn't want her to have to spend 3 or 4 hours a day away from the farm. 3 or 4 hours, let alone an 8-hour day, under the guidance of some other person. Okay, heaven forbid it be a male. He definitely would not. The alpha male, aka beta male, in my coach Tim, would not allow her to be away learning under the guidance of some other male. Okay, and we already know what he thinks of females. And so he wouldn't be too keen on her learning under the guidance of a female either. But of course, Tim had to shut that down. He's like, oh, no. We're not letting you out of these farm gates. I locked these gates for a reason. We're not letting you out of these farm gates for umpteen hours a day, umpteen hours a week to learn and be exposed to other folk. We don't want you out there socializing with other people. Okay, we do understand that if you were doing that realtor education or that realtor training, we do understand that you would have to interact with a lot of other folk. You would have to interact with buyers, sellers, property owners, lawyers, clerks, administrators, secretaries. You would have to interact and socialize with a lot of outside folk that are not under the umbrella of IAG. or the IAT as we've come to know it. And so of course Tim shut that down. He's like, oh no. We're not going that route. We're going to do whatever we need to do as far as buying and selling properties. We're going to do it on our own.
Y'all heard it. We're buying a new property, and IAG Realty, or the Resurrection Ranch Realty, whatever we decide to call it, we've always kicked around the idea of doing real estate. and doing these type of properties, buying raw land and clearing it and either blessing somebody else with it or selling it, because we become, the Lord has blessed us to where we've gotten, experience with this process. I ain't gonna say good at it because we're still learning, but we have experience with this process, and we feel like that's something that we could go into. We actually thought about getting Megan her real estate license, but then we learned that she was gonna have to work under a broker for so much time and do this and do that. We learned that she was gonna have to work under a broker for so much time, and we were like, we don't even need a real estate license. You can start our own website and we can have cash properties for sale by owner. Like we're already a business, an LLC.
Later in the video, we see Tim and Megan. They're heading into downtown, I guess, to take care of the real estate matters with the new property. Tim talks about locking the doors of the truck because they're in the city now. They're like, okay, Tim. First of all, Tim, Megan doesn't seem to have an issue with being around criminals. Yes, she never had an issue with it. Tim, why do you have a little bit of reservation as far as criminals go, Tim? Secondly, Tim, there will be no need to lock the doors of that raggedy piece of steel. Yes. No need to lock the door. Nobody's breaking into it. There's really nothing in there of value. If anything, or if anyone was going to break into there, it would be some type of tow truck operator. Some tow truck operator that was called to haul away that piece of steel. Yes. Haul it away to the salvage yard. Okay. Haul it away to that salvage camp to put it out of its misery so that it could truly fulfill its calling. Yes. Okay, Tim. So no need to lock your door. Okay. And don't be skittish about criminals, Tim. Megan wasn't skittish about you. Yes. You weren't skittish when you had cookout to your property. Okay. So don't be wishy-washy when it comes to the criminals and the criminal element, Tim. Tim, be who you are. Yes.
But we're right where we feel we belong, and anyone else would have turned back by now. But we set out to walk 1,000
All right, y'all, we're doing this.
miles from
We're about to walk in, Lord willing, and purchase another property.
leaving everyone
That you won't get ran over.
behind
Yeah,
as
you can
they're so
lock my doors. We're in the city. Oh, good. We're in the city. Lock my doors. We're in the city. Oh, good. We're in the city.
But why? And why? Why is Megan handling all of the business affairs of IAG / Resurrection Ranch? Okay, Tim, you continuously try to convince us that you're an alpha male among women and boys. You're an alpha male. You constantly remind us of that you're an alpha male. Alpha male. Alpha male. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. You constantly remind us. But yet, for one reason or another, and we know the reason, but for one reason or another, Megan is handling all the business affairs of the businesses that you are supposedly running. Okay? You can't be an alpha male when there's an alpha female clearly in the midst. All right? You can't be an alpha male, Tim. All right? Clearly, you've demonstrated. I mean, you tried to keep some things behind the scenes. You tried to keep some things hidden. But clearly, Megan is the alpha female in that household. She's the alpha female of IAG. She's the alpha female of Resurrection Ranch. And as such, Tim, that will make you like a beta male. Just accept it, Tim, and move on. Yes? We understand, and you've kind of reasserted this fact that in a relationship, in a marriage, it's a partnership. Yes? People have roles. Megan has her role. Alpha female. Deal with it, coach. Deal with it. Later in the video, they talk about not having clarity when it comes to this property purchase matter, which is evident by you calling the purchase of property a realty. it's evident that you don't have clarity. I thought that was a moment of honesty there, a brief moment of honesty there, that you don't have clarity. Yes. And so you talk about not having clarity when it comes to the purchase, but you talk about with the addition of the new property, you're going to be able to expand more abundantly. You're going to be able to expand what you guys are already doing, which of course is nothing. Okay. What part of nothing are you going to expand? You're going to expand your YouTube presence. You're going to expand your filming. I don't know that you can expand your filming. You're already 2 or 3 weeks behind on posting of videos. I don't know that you could expand your filming. You're going to expand your posting. You're going to have other individuals posting videos for you. Are you going to have other individuals editing videos for you? So I'm not sure how you're going to expand the YouTube part of what you're already doing. Are you talking about expanding the non-farming? You're going to expand the non-farming that you're doing. Okay. That would be the easy part. But unfortunately, most of us educated folks, we know that 3 times 0 is 0. Yes? Which means that if you multiply nothing, you still get nothing. So on your end, it's going to be easy for you to expand doing nothing. But for those heavy Tim followers, they might expect to see a bit more from you guys, much more from you guys. And I can only feel sorry for them. I can only feel sorry for them. Those steady Tim supporters, okay? Maybe you guys can just multiply your donations. Maybe you guys can just multiply those tips, multiply those gifts, multiply those offerings. Maybe that's what they're getting at. Because for the rest of us, all we see is multiplication of nothing.
Maybe almost a week later since y'all last saw us, and a lot has happened since the last time y'all saw our face on this video. And we just wanted to kind of, bring this video to a close and kind of, talk more in detail about some of the things concerning this property, concerning this new IAG Realty season of our lives, and just kind of like discuss some of those things just to give you all the amount of clarity that we have. Right. We don't have a lot. We'll get to give you all the amount of clarity that we have. Right. We don't have a lot. So yes, we purchased this property, and we purchased this property, and that's usually how it goes. It's like
we knew that much, huh?
It's dirt, and so some dirt became available, and we bought it. It's dirt, and so some dirt became available, and we bought it. And
yeah, our ideal is to have, land all together so that we can manage it. So we do want to expand and have more, because then that allows us to establish more and more abundantly. That's and right. Do what we're already doing, but on a larger scale. Right. And do what we're already doing, but on a larger scale.
Near the end of the video, Tim and Megan give a goofy lesson about LLCs, for-profit companies, and not-for-profit or non-profit companies. A goofy lesson. And so I would say, you foolish Tim faithful, line up so you can get this lesson. So you can get a lesson from the uneducated, educating the less educated. Okay? Line up so you can get the lesson. Okay? He even promised for you guys. He promised for you guys that, hey, we might do this on one of their sidecasts or one of their fraudcast postings. All right? So get your notepads ready. Okay? But I do need to warn you guys. I feel responsible for warning you guys. Okay? If you guys choose to follow any of the legal advice offered by my coach and y'all's ex-pastor, well, no, he's an ex-pastor, but he's your current pastor. But if you choose to follow any of the legal advice or any of the tax advice that my coach has to offer, be careful. Yes. Okay. Because they say that misery loves company. And we know that the IRS does not play, okay? Which is why they shifted from being nonprofit to for-profit in the first place, because the IRS does not play, and they came to realize that. Okay, I'm sure my coach thought that he was smarter than the IRS. And the IRS said, hold on a second. You have to have at least a lower level of education to even be in the same room with us, Mr. Tim. Okay, but those of you foolish Tim faithful that would even think about following some of their advice, remember, misery loves company. And if you choose to follow any of that business advice, I see misery in your future. Okay, as in a miserable jail stint. Okay, I see company in your future, as in learning to enjoy the company of other men. Okay, so be careful. All right, I would listen. I would get some entertainment out of it. I would take some notes on what not to do. That's as far as I would go. All right, I feel obligated to warn you about that. All right. But it's your choice. You chose to follow your pastor. You chose to support your pastor. You chose to donate to your pastor on the regular and buy him that second investment property. And so you may choose also to risk that misery and risk that company of other men or other women. That's your choice.
501c3 nonprofit envelope that's called for profit, like you're considered for profit. And what does for profit mean? You pay taxes.
Yeah.
And what does for profit mean? You pay taxes.
Yeah.
So that's all it means. It's like we sometimes we get like mixed up in a
I
nonprofit.
can't remember who told us that, but they were saying that nonprofit is basically just a tax designation.
That's
I
nonprofit.
can't remember who told us that, but they were saying that nonprofit is basically just a tax designation. I don't remember where along the lines we were told that. I don't remember where along the lines we were told that. I don't remember where along the lines we were told that.
Came up being taught that nonprofit meant holy designation. It's like that's what you do, like when you're a church or when you're doing ministry. It's like, no, like you can be under a business or under LLC or under a for-profit status where you're paying taxes and still operate and do ministry as well. So for-profit, when we say for-profit, that doesn't mean like, you know, that out making money. You know what I'm saying? And even when you say non-profit, get the understanding, that doesn't mean that you're in the business of not making money.
Right.
Because if you're a non-profit that spends more than it brings in, you're called broke. For real. For real.
All right. That's it for my reaction to that recent IAG Farms video about them buying a second investment property. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Chop it up in the comments. Burner Tim and the heavies, I expect to see you guys in the comments doing what you do as usual. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.